welcome to Autism Digest. My name is Lois Brady, and I'm with my co-publisher, Matthew Guggemos. And we've had a couple questions since we've acquired Autism Digest early in January 2022. So we had a couple questions about who we are and where we're taking the magazine. So we just kind of wanted to answer them. So first of all, who we are. I just gave you our names, but we're actually speech language pathologists. We are autism specialists. We're researchers. We do research with the NIH and the NSF. We do private research. We design technology. Way back when, we realized a lot of the technology for children with autism just wasn't working very well. So we created some of our own technology. And we have a private clinic where we work with kids with autism. It is an autism-specific speech-language clinic. So that's kind of our professional background. We've written books and numerous articles. We've gone to all the conferences. Matthew, am I missing anything? Besides, we're just people?
Yeah, that's right. We're just people too. But yeah, I think that one of the things that might make the story interesting is that, when you hear people, they go into tech or they go into educational technology or they develop products that, they must know what they're doing when they start. But that was not our case. We just had an idea and thought, well, we don't really like the options that are out there based on how, people responded to them when we worked with the kids. And we've had lots of large caseloads and worked with hundreds of people. And so we thought, well, we'll just make our own technology, which is much easier said than done. So over the years, we've gotten much better at it. But when we started from ground zero. So that I think that makes us a little bit more relatable than some giant juggernaut of a tech company that just came in and made some amazing stuff. We started knowing nothing and had to kind of bootstrap ourselves. So that led us here.
And interesting facts, Matthew is a professional drummer, and I am a horseback rider and animal-assisted therapist. I had a potbelly pig for 15 years. He passed last year, but Buttercup, and he was my pet partner. So I was the human half of a potbelly pig therapy team. And there's a long story behind Buttercup, and he'll be in one of the blogs. But so yeah, we're also people. Matthew has 4 kids. I have 5, and we're just very busy. But we really enjoy the magazine. We wholeheartedly embrace it, and we're very fortunate to have come across this position where it was offered to us, and we took the opportunity. So, next question. So Matthew, what made you want to work with autistic people and the autism community in the first place? That's a great question. So for me, it was, I kind of fell in there because I needed a job. I'm going to be totally honest. I needed a job. This job was open. I'm going to say this was 30 years ago. I have a family. I had to support my family. But I quickly learned to love this job because I quickly learned to love the kids so much. I worked in a school that was almost completely autism specific. And I really learned to love the kids, and I understood that what I was taught, they were asocial, they didn't like you, they hit you, all these negative things were so untrue. The kids were just kids. They were just frustrated kids. And then all the little flashcards they gave me to sit there and stacks and stacks of flashcards to go through with the kids so they could label all their food and label all their drinks and label their clothing. Kids hated those. They hated them. And I'm like, okay, so what do they like? What do they like? What do they like? They like animals. Oh my gosh, I have animals. I have access to animals. And animals are just such an amazing thing to use because animals are just unconditionally loving, and the kids unconditionally love the animals, and they come over and they want to touch, pet. It just opens up communication. So this is how I was able to get into my kids' world and then slowly pull them into my world, teach them the communication skills that they needed then to take out and to communicate with other people. So I found, and then I searched, well, what animal's the best? What animal's the best? Dogs. I went through dogs. Dogs sometimes they have preconceived notions of dog has barked at them or a dog has scratched them or nipped them. So dogs were out because some kids already didn't like them. Cats were too fragile because our kids have grading problems, muscle grading. So sometimes they grab too hard. So small animals were out because they could hurt them. Well, what could I do? So I thought of a potbelly pig. They're sturdy, they could take a blow, they're very calm, and the kids did not have a preconceived notion about what a pig was. So I got this little tiny baby potbelly pig and I stuffed it under my coat and I went into work, and sure enough, the kids all lit up. They started talking to not only the pig but each other. They wanted to feed the pig. They started asking the pig what the pig wants. And then they started telling the other kids about the pig. Oh my gosh, this was amazing. So I've used animals and high interest likes ever since. And I know Matthew's got a similar story where we put our flashcards away
Yeah, right.
and used other things. And within that, we were told, well, that's not real speech therapy. You can't really be doing that. And Matthew has a very interesting story that he used to unlock some communication skills for kids.
Yeah, I mean, well, the interesting thing is now, I mean, what people are being trained to do is more kind of like what we were doing then, but at the time, it was just kind of like drilling skills. Here's this word, say it, kind of. I mean, and when I first started working with autistic kids, I was always really fascinated because I felt I had a lot of similar things in common with them. I mean, a neurodiverse person myself, so I thought, well, I can relate to these guys. I mean, they had more. They need more help with communication. But the things that we learned in a graduate school about how to stimulate communication, I just found it didn't work. And so I also love animals a lot myself, but I've always been like I like any animal, but I was always into bugs and insects and lizards, and so it drove my mother crazy with that. So when I started working at this school, I was at another branch from the very same school that Lois worked at, and at this place is in California. They had a sprinkler system that was in the front yard, and inside of it were these drainage areas. And if you picked up the grates from the drain where the sprinklers are, there are all these tree frogs in there. And I thought, wow, that is wild, because I mean, everything looks so dry and brown, and then you lift this up and there's these community of tree frogs in. So I thought, I don't know, maybe the kids would want to see this, because I was just trying to find things they're interested in. And like Lois said, that we were at a school where kids had some behavior. Some of them were aggressive. I personally never had that issue with them doing these kind of activities. So what I started doing is I started taking one or two kids out, and then we just worked on. And these were also with kids who were nonverbal or semi-verbal, or were only communicating through echolalia. And all we did was just work on pointing and then showing each other what we were looking at. And so what we would do is we'd get a frog, and they were really mellow. They'd climb into this little plastic cup, and then underneath it, you could see the frog from underneath. You could look at them from above, and they were, safe inside the container. And then the kids would take turns pointing or talking about something, what color it was, or his foot, look at his foot, or just point, and then get others to look at where they're pointing. And these are actually like key communication skills: pointing, shared eye gaze, all this stuff. And I thought, why aren't more people doing this? Look at how much the kids love it. I mean, we would then go out. We went from the tree frogs, then we'd walk together as a group, maybe 3 or 4 kids, and we'd find animals, and then the rule was you had to point, and then you just had to get other people to look at what you're pointing at, and then that led to more talking and taking turns, and it never had one single behavioral outburst or any issue. I really changed my perspective of what you can do in speech therapy. And this looked a lot more like modern, speech and communication interventions that are rooted in children's interests, and then also things that are functional. I mean, there's an animal right there. I mean, it's interesting, and you're looking at it too. I mean, now there's something to talk about rather than, here's some icon and it has something on it the kids didn't even want or care about. And it was really fascinating to see that doing functional interest-based things with these kids help them, communicate, help with their social skills. So that really got me interested in working with, autistic kids and families, because I was able to see just how much change they could make just appealing to their interests like any other person. I mean, if you get any person to work on something they're not interested in, how well are they going to do? I mean, it's not going to be very well. So we really, after that point, that's when I got more motivated to just, get into the assistive technology and other areas, but particularly communication therapy with autism.
What made us want to acquire the magazine? So that, again, that kind of leads right into it. We didn't go out looking to be publishers. We had a clinic. Like I said, we were doing research, we're creating technology, and we wrote for the magazine. We wrote for Autism Digest. We've written for it for years. Matthew is kind of a shadow writer. I'd come up with the idea and write, and Matthew is an excellent editor, and he would edit it for me. And then the opportunity came to actually be the publishers, and we were just so excited about it. So we're super happy to be in this position where we can do this and offer all of our knowledge over the past 25, 30 years to not only our knowledge, but the knowledge of all the great contributors, and to really be able to help the community.
Yeah, we've really acquired a great network of people who have incredible information to share. And that was one of the things that we did a lot of when we were running our in-person speech and language clinic. Now we're doing a lot more telehealth, but we're sharing information with parents and caregivers, and so being able to take over the magazine, and then have the network of people we've met over the years write for the magazine, and then share the things that we've learned in it has been really exciting. Plus, we like to write. We tinkered with writing for a long time, so we've written lots of things together, and so having a magazine has been exciting, and a really, big learning curve too. Like learning to make apps. I mean, it's the same sort of thing. Becoming a publisher, there's a whole set of skills you have to figure out, and that's been really fun.
So what we're most excited about is, again, just being able to give this information to everybody, because over the past years we've acquired just a wealth of information, people who know a lot more than we do. And what we want to do is to spread that information, because a lot of the things that were initially taught in school even are wrong. There's a lot of old information out there that people believe in, it's wrong. So we're real happy to have this platform to go out and spread some great information, some new research, some new strategies. Some of the old strategies don't work. They don't work very well at all. So we know strategies that do work. How's the best way to get that out there? Autism Digest. So we're real happy about being able to do that. There was one thing you wish the world knew about autism, what would it be? I do believe Matthew has the greatest answer for this one.
Well, this is something I am, have really strong opinions about, and I think it's that autistic people can communicate in a lot of different ways. That we can speak, we can gesture, we can write. And one of the things that we are seeing more and more of, I mean, we're seeing people graduate from colleges who communicate through augmentative and assistive communication devices or typing. And we have writers. Ido Kadar writes for us, who does not speak but communicates through typing. There are bloggers out there and poets and novelists who are autistic, who their primary and main source of communication is through using text. And I really would like the world to know that that's a completely viable, learnable way for people to learn to communicate who are autistic. And I think that the magazine is a great opportunity to share not just our opinions, but examples of people who communicate that way, and to encourage parents and educators to really explore that. So that's one of my most important things that I want the world to know about autism, is that there are plenty of ways to communicate, and that we should explore as many of those as possible, and not just the traditional ways with autism.
I agree. That's one of our soapboxes is, and one of the things that we learned with our many years of working with kids with autism is you can skip right to writing. You get them typing and they're 4 years old, and now they have a lifetime skill. So that's some of the stuff you're going to see coming through, a theme coming through our social media and magazines. So be on the lookout for that. Who do we admire most in the autism community? It's hard to say. Of course, Temple Grandin's right up there. They're the most famous, most popular, and overcome so many hurdles. But I think ultimately, anyone in the community, I have to admire. Even I'm sitting across the table from a 6-year-old who's having trouble organizing their sensory system that morning, and they're struggling so hard just to be there. I admire that. I'm not struggling that hard to be there, but they are struggling just to get in the car and make a transition. That's hard. I admire everyone who's going through those struggles and doing it. So there's no easy answer to that question.
Yeah, I'd say I admire all the people in the autistic community who are communicating through writing, typing, and in their own form of typing, whether it's the typical way most of us type or their own way to type, but using text and typing to share their thoughts. I admire that, because I think it's so important for us to understand how people in the autism community think, who are members of it. So I really admire any single person who's doing that, who's in the community.
And the message we like to spread to our readers, of course, high expectations. Put high expectations on all people. We would love to get rid of what's that called, Matthew? The Rosenthal effect.
Yes.
The low expectation effect, or they're low functioning. We have to do everything for them. That's not true. We would love to be able to spread the word. Expect high expectations. Like Matthew said, our kids are learning literacy at young ages. They're hardwired for words and letters and numbers, yet we insist to simplify their work, and they don't need it. So we need high expectations. We need to work with sensory systems and have and provide real usable teaching and teaching strategies. And that's kind of what I want to spread, is everyone has abilities and capabilities, and look for them. There are diamonds in the rough. You have to just work very, very hard, and don't let, and I'm going to say this as a therapist, and it's a little counterproductive as a therapist, but we really need more parents to take some reins. The therapists are only guides, and we can show the parents and everyone how to work with their kids. But autism is kind of a 24/7 challenge. And if we can get parents on board and really help parents learn some strategies, that is one of the most effective ways to help anyone with autism. So that's what I'd really like to push out there too, is it's just not the therapist's responsibility to help. It's everybody's, and it's not hard. It's not hard at all. And again, through the magazine, we're going to be sharing a lot of the strategies and a lot of things to do.
Yeah, I'd like to add too. I mean, in terms of, I just bumped my table. I'd like to share that the magazine, we want to highlight accomplishments of people in the autism community, and then best practices that can that assist them in meeting their potential, and then also just show autistic people just being typical people like anyone else. I mean, they're doing fun things. They're playing sports, making art, writing, being with their family. I think that's one of the goals of the magazine too, is just to highlight autistic individuals as people who deserve respect and can accomplish things. And that's one of the, I think, important messages the magazine has always had, but I mean, we want to continue that.
So we hope to continue this magazine for a very long time in the future, and thank you for watching.